Top of the broadcast, everyone. We like to welcome everyone to One Sought Out again. Today's guest is really very interesting. I like them both, really, I do. We have a lot of subjects that some people might not be ready for as usual. Because like I did last month, we talked about the Buffalo Soldiers Month. For that, it was also about human rights as well as but more than just black history, as we spoke about John Brown and Jennifer Granholm and other people who are human, that care about where we go and what we do. Today's guests are dealing with two subjects that really correspond with both months' program. I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves, their organizations, and from that point, y'all know how we do it. It's always about having fun and getting it out there. So, hello, how are you doing?
Thank you for having us.
How are you doing?
How you doing?
May y'all please introduce your group and yourselves for everyone.
Okay, my name is Sean McDonald, and I have a company called McDonald Enterprises and Consulting. I gave myself the title of problem solver because of my past experiences. I have a wide range of businesses, experiences, everything that I've done in my background. So I like to consider myself a problem solver. If someone has a problem, I'm usually able to try and help figure a way out to get out of that problem.
A true solution maker.
Yes, a solution maker. There you
Yes,
go.
I like that. And may I?
Teresa Canales. My
Yes.
company is called Creative Collaboration and Education. I call myself an independent worker, thinker, and writer. However, I recognize that a lot of solutions come from sitting around a table like this,
Yeah.
creatively and collaboratively, and with education behind that, that we can also come to more greater solutions for a greater number of people, for a greater number of the citizenry. And that's one of the things that we're here to talk about today. One of our projects that we work on together collaboratively is called the Full-Time Citizen.
Yes.
So, I'll start off by talking about what some of the things that we do. One of the first things that we've tried to do is encourage more regular people, citizens, to attend more of the city advisory boards and committees, to watch, in fact, how policy is made, to understand that decisions that are made at City Council on Thursdays have, in fact, been ramped up, that there are conversations that go on behind the scenes and behind that before that actually comes to the agenda. A lot of decisions and conversations have taken place in these committee meetings, on these advisory boards, and we encourage regular people to take time out of their day, and we recognize that it is work that you're typically missing to come to these meetings. But we think the value in what we learned there and what we've seen, and questions that are asked and questions that are not asked,
The worst questions that are never asked.
are that these are valuable meetings to attend, and these are valuable experiences. And it's important for us to see the way that our elected officials and our city staff and people who are hired to do work for the city, it's important for us to see that interaction and the development of the ideas and the agenda that come before our elected officials, so we can understand how their decisions are made.
I like that. Now, I know that we hadn't got a chance to discuss this yet, but when you said that, you made me think about a lot of things. The policies, as far as they've been trying to push out here now, you can't record the police, even though the First Amendment gives us that right. But to me, it seemed like the Second Amendment is holding a pistol to the First Amendment to keep it quiet. So I have a different attitude about that. And I also have a situation with a police wrongfully kill someone, and that police not just not being held accountable, but we pay the settlement. The people
Absolutely.
pay the settlement, not the police itself, because it's wrong. And if we don't know those policies or change those policies or be educated in how those policies was put in place, we would still be subjected to the same oppression and those secret blue walls that they have, you know. So I totally agree with that part. And you and I were speaking about the block parties and the things to help people register to vote and get them out in the streets so they can start seeing the importance of it. And I'm not going to let you get away without explaining you being an educator. And that is very important as well. But we got to get back to the policy part on you. I got to give you time now. Come on. Let's go, Sean.
There are two policy parts. We're going to talk about the study group and the precinct project.
The full-time citizen comes in two parts, like Teresa said. We have the study group where we meet weekly. It's every Wednesday. We provide a lunch.
Time.
11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Thank you.
And the location does vary. So we want to give we want to highlight maybe different areas of the city. So we'll try and have a rotating agenda. But it's going to be every Wednesday. And that comes, what Teresa was talking about, the meetings, the city meetings, the government meetings, that ties in directly with the study group, because the people who attend those meetings, we would like them to come into our Wednesday meeting.
Right.
Anybody who's been to any meetings the week before, we could talk about what happened in that meeting, what ideas were put forth, and everybody in the group is able to share in the experience and not actually physically be there.
I got you.
So we're educating the group on the city's activities at the same time while we're also discussing other issues that people feel are important. We have a 2-hour block. So we provide free time for people to come in. If you feel an issue is important that's not being discussed, then bring it to us, bring it to our group. We could discuss it, and then we could possibly find some ways to formulate some action behind it.
Right.
So, and it's open to everybody. It's open across party lines, across city lines, and economic lines.
Yeah.
It's open for everybody, because I think we need everybody to participate, because once you start listening to one ideology for too long, you become desensitized to everything else outside of what these people are talking about.
Exactly.
And sometimes there's some really good ideas over here.
Yes.
And but everybody else is saying, oh, those guys don't matter, don't listen to them. So you don't listen to them.
Right.
So we want to bring everybody in on this together, because it is, what happens in the city affects everybody.
Thank you.
And we need everybody to really participate and learn what's going on in their city.
And that's important. One of my favorite sayings also is this: the most wealthiest place in the world are the cemeteries. Because a lot of good ideas were buried before, because people didn't have the self-esteem or the support to push that idea forward. Everything begins with an idea. And that's the reason that I said I wasn't letting her slip with the education part, because when you start educating us and molding us at a young age, what scriptures say is, bringing up a child the right way, when they get old, they will not drift from it.
Right.
So I would really enjoy, not for you to just minimize what you're doing, but actually explain how people can interact and get some not just the training, but the motivation to work with you, to have a reason to come and actually see the importance of making council meetings, changing policies, getting the proper tools to know how to do so.
Well, and the biggest thing about the study group that we're trying to bring to it is a safe environment.
Yeah.
Like you said, not everyone has the confidence to. One of the biggest things that I see at the committee meetings, people not asking, I'm surprised at the number of questions that aren't posed, like kind of both agreed on. And so I think in the study group, what we're trying to bring is that the understanding that bearing the question is just as important as having the answer. And putting the question out to multiple people and getting different feedback and getting different responses and having different perspectives laid out, that does matter, because it does create, I think, better solutions, and I think that's what we're leaning towards. So again, it's creating that safe environment so that people can pose the questions, or so they can bring an agenda from a city meeting and say, this is what they discussed, and I have no clue what they were talking about.
Exactly.
Because I'm just as fascinated in sitting in some of those committee meetings at some of the questions, again, that are posed or are not posed by our city council persons, our elected officials, that we have to recognize don't necessarily have all the answers.
Exactly.
When we look at the voter turnout and you stop and think that 12% a max of 15% of our population elected whatever city council person or our mayor, the idea that that's okay should be appalling, really. We shouldn't allow for that kind of, to just relinquish that that
Freedom.
authority,
Right.
those rights that people have fought for. You're military, and so you defended that. My
Yes.
father defended that, but we don't seem to think that it's something that people died for this right, and it doesn't seem to be something that we need to exercise. So how do we get that back? And then the precinct project, the parties that we're talking about, is one way for us to kind of, there's the study group, which is kind of serious, and
Right.
we try to have fun. And so the precinct project is a more fun way of doing that. And kind of like what you said, integrating people, getting out of their
Right.
homes and talking to other people in the precinct. So we talk about the precinct as first a geographical boundary. Why do I vote at this school, but the person who lives across the street from me but has to vote 4 blocks
miles.
away? Right. So there's that basic understanding that because that person is not in your precinct, that
Right.
it's divided by the street, and so you live over here and that person lives over there. That conversation doesn't happen very frequently. So I think Sean's better at explaining a little bit more about the objectives of the precinct party.
And I'm with you. Go right ahead.
Okay. The precinct project with the block parties is based on a belief that a lot of the people who live in the communities that we're targeting, they don't come out and vote because they don't believe in the system anymore. I
Right.
think we've gone out there and we've tried to register the people to vote, and the majority of the people are somewhat accepting of it. Whether they actually do vote, that's a whole different issue. But there are people who we talk to who say, no, that I let other people vote, or I'm not going to vote. My vote doesn't matter. It's all these negative responses that we get.
Right.
And I think a lot of the people in those communities, they don't see the politicians down there. They don't see a lot of city people down there. They don't come out, and the only time they see the politicians or the city people is when they're asking for money or votes on a bond or some type of issue like that. That's the only community activity that they really see.
Right.
So the block parties is a way to maintain a political presence, to register voters, to let them know, like she said, about the precinct. You live in this precinct. These are the boundaries.
Right.
And we want to also take it one step beyond the precinct and show the school districts, your state representative. What does that look like? Because of the gerrymandering, I mean, you have people in this community who share the same representative as somebody way over here on the north side.
Right.
And those are they have two different outlooks
Issues.
on life. They have two different issues.
Yes.
They're in two different economic communities.
Yes.
So when we talk to the people over here and you go, look, there's this guy over here, who do you think they're going to pay attention to when it comes down to financing your community?
The one with the money.
The one with the money.
Right.
Because they're not loud enough. Even though there's more people down here,
Right.
you're not using your voice.
Right.
And until our people raise up, in these communities that we're targeting, they're still not going to be heard. And the block parties are going to give them a chance to come out, meet the neighbors, talk about these issues, and hopefully generate some excitement
Yes.
about being involved.
Yes.
And I think that's